Welcome into part 2 of the week 15 preview, the first week of the playoffs. If you made it, congratulations. Um, yeah, it's already started off with a bang. We already talked about the Thursday night game. We got 3 Saturday games. Do you like, I think we talked about this before, but do you like it when there's like 4 games that have already played by the time Sunday comes around? Like you're, let's just say, I don't know. Does it change your decision making at all? Like, okay, I can shoot for an upside play or something, or do you kind of just roll with it?
Yeah, I don't know. My teams aren't usually like very flush with players, so I don't know if it really affects that much. But I do kind of like it like this time of year because get some time off for the holidays. It's like some extra games. I'm totally fine with like there being games on all day tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
They're all spread out. So yeah, that's cool. But as far as like, does it change my strategy? It definitely can, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said on the last video or the last couple of videos, like I don't know if I've ever really had one of those where it's like, oh, I have to play this guy. Like I don't know if it's ever really come up. Like I totally get the concept of it, but I never really had the Gabe Davis sort of guy sitting on my bench because I'm probably starting him because all my other picks sucked.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you play in any type of deep league, it's almost like you have to. Like, I held on to freaking Elijah Moore. I tried to drop him, I don't know, after like week 4 or 3, and I held on to him for like 5 more weeks because there was just like no one else to pick up. I don't know. It's just it's a lot more fun though, in my opinion. 12 teams, and I kind of like how we did in one of our leagues. Again, we have 3 flexes along with 2 running backs and 2 receivers. So it's a lot of fun in that way, I think. Like if you don't have a stacked team, like again, you mentioned in the last video, like I'm tossing around all these guys and I finally decided on Zamir White and then he hit on it, and it's just a lot more fun to play that way, play the game that way. Although winning is fun too. So
yeah, it feels good. It feels good when you're right. And if you're wrong on Zamir White, you're not necessarily like, man, like I thought he was going to get me 17 points. Like you're not expecting that. So
yeah, for sure. But yeah, we're going to jump into 5 more games here. Starting off with the Bucs and the Packers. Brian, you were potentially going to go to this game. We got a little husband-wife rivalry, Bucs and Packers, in Lambeau Field. Did you guys pick the Bucs or the Packers?
I chose the Bucs. Okay. But yeah, we were supposed to go to this game. The wife's a Packers fan. I'm sure you guys figured that out already. But yeah, like she really wants to go to Lambeau at some point. So I'd saved up some money, and I always halfway joked around with her, but like I always tell her, like, if we're going to Lambeau, we're going in the winter. You got to get the full experience and everything. And I knew they were going to play each other this year, so I had already kind of like priced everything out. But her best friend's turning 40 in January, and she really wants to go to Hawaii. So we're doing that instead. So we are not going to be at this game, but that's all right because Lambeau will still be there. Yeah, and I made the picks this week because she was really busy at work. And it's funny, I picked the Packers and I sent the sheet off. And then like 10 seconds later, I was like, no. And then I redid the sheet. I just put in the TB instead of the GB. And then I resent it. And I was like, oh, use this one instead. So
yeah,
go Bucs.
Hawaii and Lambeau Field in December are probably like pretty far from as close to opposite as you can get. So
pretty much.
Yeah, but it'll be an interesting game. The Bucs are one of those teams I feel like I've picked them every week, and obviously I've been more wrong than right. But I do think for fantasy they're a pretty easy team. Like again, if Baker is hopefully, I don't know, because all the quarterbacks and injuries and stuff like that, maybe you have to start Baker. I'm fine with starting Baker. Like he's been pretty solid all year long. I kind of survived half my regular season with, a few starts there with Baker. He's QB 15 on the year. He should be okay in this game. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but like I'm starting him over like Browning and Minshew, Flacco, that group. I think I'm going to just roll Baker and feel a little more safer with him. A little safer. Are you there with me with Baker?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. The Packers is not a terrible matchup either.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like kind of right in the middle, I'm sure.
Yep. But I don't know. Like I'm looking at Geno. I think Geno's going to play against the Eagles. What would you do there? I think I'm leaning Geno against the Eagles.
I don't know. No, I think I might still go with Baker.
Does it change your mind that the Eagles give up the most points to the quarterback position, which most people wouldn't tell you? That's not the first team that comes to your mind. Like they've been terrible against quarterbacks. Mac Jones, week 1, 25 points. I'm just looking at like Baker. Am I looking at this right? Yeah, they shut down Baker and Zach Wilson, Tua. That's it looks like. Everyone else they've given up like 16, 17 points, and a lot of guys they've given up 25 plus. So still Baker though.
Yeah, I think so. That is interesting though to hear all that, but I don't know. Geno has been like a little. We kind of thought he was turning back into a pumpkin there for a little bit. But I mean, and not even because he was like that bad. Like he's had bad games for sure, but he's had the huge, multi-touchdown games. He's got good weapons around him. Or Walker and Charbonnet are both back, right? They both played last week.
Yeah, I think they're still in like the injury report. At least Walker is. I'm pretty sure, but I think they're both back.
And yeah, just that matchup with San Francisco, just as far as like they're probably gonna have to like be throwing to keep up. So no, yeah, I think I talked myself into to Geno there.
I guess Charbonnet and Walker, neither of them are on the injury report. So
okay,
but
I think they played last week. Anyway, when we get there.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one for sure. But yeah, he's a solid start, and I think again. This seems pretty easy. Rashad White, you're starting. Mike Evans, you're starting. Godwin, no, I'm done. Like he did have like 11 targets and it just turned into nothing. Like I don't want it. It's just there's been no upside there. And he is off. I think he's off the injury report, which is good, but I don't want to do it. So I don't know if you're in the same boat there.
Yeah, like I don't really want to either because I have been doing it basically all year. Like it hasn't been fun. I mean, it's kind of funny because I thought about this the other night and like I was like, where did I actually draft him at? And I remember I had the first overall pick, so I think it was at the 6-7 turn, if I looked at that right. But basically I drafted him right around like wide receiver 26, I think is when I counted. And he definitely hasn't played up to that because he's just outside of wide receiver 3, basically, territory. But yeah, I mean, just the only thing you can say about him is like he's gonna get some targets. I don't know. Like, or no, what did I say last week? He plays.
Yeah, he plays.
Yeah, he plays. Yeah. He's out there, but yeah, it's not good.
No, it would be interesting to see what happens with Godwin, what they do and stuff, like this team in general. So they could make the playoffs though. So both these teams are in the playoffs at 6 and 7, I believe.
Yeah.
Packers in a wild card and Bucs leading their division. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah, but they're an easy team. Rashad White's awesome. Poor man's. No, I don't want to say poor man's. What's a nice way to say like he's like CMC, but he's not CMC? I feel like is poor man rude? Like rude to say that?
Well, I think it might be like what his perceived value is or something, or it's like that's like calling like someone like dime store this or like it's basically. It might have more to do with like where you drafted him. I don't know, actually, now that I think about it, because I'm just thinking like he's like all I could afford, and he's good, but he's not like the premium model. I don't know. Yeah,
But
it probably is. It probably is rude.
the funny thing is he's RB5, so it's not like he's like RB15. He's RB5 on the year. And I think since week 7, he's only behind McCaffrey in half in all formats. I think, or maybe not standard, but definitely half in PPR. So
yeah, he definitely helped a lot of people get to the playoffs because of where you drafted him. But you could just call him CMC Light. Like
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, light. I like it. The Packers, I feel like we always have to talk about all these guys because we don't know who it is. Love is a low-end QB1. He's right there in that Wilson Goff range. I start him over those guys. Buccaneers have not been very good lately, I think, against quarterbacks. And just they've been really bad, actually. They're the 5th best matchup for quarterbacks since week 8, 30, 41 points, only 7 to Levis, 26, 15, 8 to Bryce Young, 26 to Ritter. So I like Love this week as a low-end QB1, like the high end of that low-end tier. So the running backs, like A.J. Dillon, I think has like a broken thumb or something.
Yeah.
Is Aaron Jones going to play? I'm just double checking their injury report. Like A.J. Dillon was limited today, did not practice. Aaron Jones limited all week, but he was limited all week last week and didn't play.
Yeah, he's been really bad for fantasy this year. Obviously, Aaron Jones, I mean, he started off with that great game, and it's just been, he's just been hurt. It's like it's not necessarily his fault, but even when he's been back, he hasn't been just I don't know. He hasn't looked like himself. We'll just leave it at that.
Are you just benching all of them at this point? Or if Aaron Jones plays, if one of them plays without the other, are you probably going to start him as like a low-end RB2? If both of them play, what are we doing?
I'd say if both of them play, I don't know. That's kind of tough because A.J. Dillon will snake some of the work for sure. But I'm just going to assume at this point, I don't know. If they're both playing, I might bench both of them. I'm definitely not happy with picking one of them at that point. But if Dillon's out and Aaron Jones is in, you're starting him as a low end number 2, high end flex kind of situation. What the guy is capable of. And he definitely before, we'll say up to week 1 this year. He's one of those guys that you could definitely say start your studs when it comes to if you ever had a question about him. It's just been this year, and it's been injuries. So if he comes back and he plays, we know what he's capable of. It's just hard because we haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, for sure. The receivers.
So Watson's not going to play, so that makes it a little bit easier.
So it's between Reed in terms of starting. It's Reed and Dobbs. Dobbs is the only healthy one. Romeo Dobbs, right? Yeah, I always forget.
I can't remember now anymore.
I think it's Dobbs because it should be Dubs, right? I don't know. But he's the only the one not on the injury report because Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks are both on the injury report. I like Reed the most if he's healthy. I'm just worried about if he's healthy. I just double checking his snap percentage. 69%. Okay, so if he played 70% of the snaps, he's the one I want to start. Is Jaden Reed? So just 10 targets,
higher upside potentially.
Yeah, I mean 10 targets, 4 carries. They give him carries. They've given him 9 carries over the last 4 weeks. The only week they didn't is when he was coming back from the injury, which makes sense. So they just want to get the ball in his hands. I like Reed the most. Are you more on the Dobbs side?
I kind of was leaning that way when you first brought it up. But I mean, I guess in all fairness, when Dobbs has been the more he's been on the field all year. That could just be a product of he's been in the system for literally a year longer because Jaden Reed's a rookie. So it definitely seems like he's working his way onto the field a little more. partially like. Well, no, I was gonna say out of it being necessary, but Watson didn't get hurt till the end of the game last week, right? Like,
it was 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
Last
okay.
week he missed. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and Reed played 70% of the snaps. Yeah, I did like how they used him in the running game. Like that was good stuff, for sure. But yeah, I was gonna go back to Dobbs. Like I was gonna say, like he hasn't really demanded like a high target share, even despite being out there all the time. So that could change a little bit. Like a little more targets available with Watson out. But I don't know if Aaron Jones comes back. I think he's like in the exact same situation. Like he's second at best on not necessarily like the greatest offense kind of a thing.
Yeah. I think they're both in 3 wide receiver leagues a consideration. Reed to me is just a little bit more of like an easier start than Dobbs, but they're both definitely in consideration. And I don't know. I don't really want to start Tucker Kraft. Like I know he's been out there more obviously with Musgrave out 4 for 64 last week, 10 targets the last 2 weeks. So it's not terrible. Like he's right in that Freiermuth range, Logan Thomas maybe range, but you could do worse, I guess. I don't know. Should we move on? I know that was a long game.
Yeah.
But
close to my heart.
Yeah, and the next one should be really easy, so we can kind of even these two out because it's the Jets and Dolphins.
Man,
Jets is. If you're keeping track now, I think it's Breece Hall is up to 238 yards rushing over the last 8 weeks or whatever it was before last week. I'm still starting Breece Hall because he's producing like a wide receiver 3 with just the receiving.
Yeah, I think that's what we said about him last week or the week before. It's like if he was a receiver, just like with the targets and he's obviously the yardage is not there, but that's in addition to his 10 carries a game. So
yeah,
it's totally he's Debo light. How about that?
Yeah,
because he's also a running back.
Yeah, he's like Debo, getting more touches but less efficient in the worst offense. So
there you go. He's less efficient Debo.
Yeah. So obviously, if you at this point, if you have freaking Kamara and Zach Moss and Kyron, you're starting those guys. But just if you had those 3 and Breece Hall, but he's a top 15 guy every week because of his receiving work. Garrett Wilson is back to starting. Dude gets fed when Zach Wilson's out there, and that's kind of it for the Jets and the Dolphins. I guess Tua we do need to talk about a little bit because without Tyreek, I'm benching Tua.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair, and it's the matchup, not just having if they were playing a much softer team, it'd be a totally different conversation, But the Jets just don't let people score,
Yeah, they don't, and they shut down quarterbacks. So yeah, without Tua, I'm starting Lawrence, Kyler. I'm not going to go as far as Browning and Minshew. I'm still going to start Tua over those guys, but I'm easily starting Lawrence, Murray, probably Geno if he's healthy at least over Tua. So that's kind of where I fall in there. Tyreek obviously you start and Waddle. It doesn't really change much if Tyreek's there or not. I don't think it might even be better if Tyreek's there for Waddle, to be honest. Take away some coverage, but I think Waddle's just a wide receiver 3 with upside always to give you more a top 15 guy. So for that reason, I'm starting him.
Yeah, definitely safe. I mean, his floor is very safe too. It's now, maybe we drafted him too early, but that was a long time ago. Get over it, and you're still starting him. We know the dude's talented, but yeah, very safe floor, around eight points. Basically half PPR, and then with the ceiling, because we know he's good.
Yeah, and then HN and Mostert, I probably want to start both. Maybe I still like Mostert over HN, but I'm fine with starting both. The upside of HN and the consistency of Mostert really all year long,
Yeah. yeah, basically, like it's funny because like we were kind of worried about like what's this going to look like when Achan comes back and starts to play, and it's like, yeah, it's kind of what we were expecting it to be, even though it's kind of like swung different ways. But if you really like if you look at just like the box scores and stuff, but yeah, I mean, Achan's, taking a quarter to a third of the running back carries, but he's very involved in the passing game. Mostert is getting just fed, and every now and then he'll get a pass too. So, or it looks like basically one a game, like he gets one target.
Yeah.
But yeah, he doesn't need that. Like this team, like he has like, let me see, what is it? 16? Yeah, he has 16 touchdowns rushing this year, and 2 through the air. So yeah, I don't know how you don't start him.
Yeah, he's I think only 3 games this year where he doesn't have a touchdown. So yeah, he's starting. Yeah, so we'll just move on from those 2 teams into potentially another easy matchup: the Giants at the Saints. Giants is Barkley. I like the story of Tommy DeVito, I guess, but I'm not starting him unless I'm just like, I do have people who lost Herbert, and with all the injuries, a lot of quarterbacks are rostered. And even if you have quarterbacks that aren't rostered, a lot of people are just getting backups because they're worried their guy's going to get injured. Yeah. So I do have people deciding between Browning, Minshew, DeVito, guys like that. Yeah, I that's what I said. Is it either Minshew or we're going to talk about him in this video? Yes. Will Levis, I don't think is a bad flyer this week, but we'll talk about that later. Okay. The Giants, yeah, it's Saquon. Like, Wan'Dale's interesting. I'd roster him. I don't want to trust it yet though, because we've seen this before.
Yep.
So
and Waller is back, right? Is he actually going to play? Oh, they said if he does play, he'll be on a snap count, right? So
yeah,
it's awesome.
Avoid him this week.
Yeah, I don't start him, but it's awesome if you kept him this long. If you had an IR spot, or he actually still has an IR designation in sleeper, so he's not fully activated. But yeah, don't start him this week. Awesome if you can stash him. Like if he's available on your waiver wire, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically just Saquon at this point. Then the Saints, it's Kamara and Olave, and Taysom Hill. Like, is he back healthy? If he is, I'm still throwing him out there because, again, he can give me 20 points at the tight end position, and there's like a handful of guys that can do that.
Yeah.
So
fire him up. Yeah, he is cleared, so he is playing. Okay. So yes, play him. Yeah,
I mean, is there anyone else? Like, Carr, the guy just doesn't die. Like, he's been injured so much this year. Where are you at with him? Is Baker, Gardner, Minshew, Browning over Carr at this point? Like, can't trust Derek Carr?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you definitely can't trust him, but that doesn't mean a whole lot because it's I can't trust Jake Browning necessarily either, or Tommy DeVito.
Yeah.
Carr, I definitely don't want to start him, but I would definitely start Baker, Minshew over him. The matchup's not terrible against the Giants, but man, like, it's just not happening. And like, we haven't seen like what he basically was doing for a lot of his career, which was throwing 300 yards every single game, It hasn't been like that this year. He's shown flashes for sure, but yeah, don't start him.
Yeah, I agree. Don't want to start him. So yeah, it's Olave, Kamara, and Hill. Super easy matchup there. So we're making up time for that first one. The Texans and the Titans. No, well, CJ Stroud's doubtful, which is a little interesting because it's like concussion related. I just thought either you're out or guess he can still get through concussion protocol. So
I think maybe until tomorrow is when he actually has, like, they have to know, because I think anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just usually, I feel like we get a decision by now, but maybe he was like almost there, but not quite there. So they're going to give it another day. I don't know. Let's just say, obviously, if he starts, Like, where are you ranking him? Because it's a concussion. It's not a shoulder or something.
Yeah, he's listed as doubtful.
Yeah.
It says it was reported Friday morning that he's not going to play, but he's listed as doubtful. So I don't know. We'll see. If he does play, honestly, I think you're starting him, like because like what you said, it's not like he's coming back from like he hurt his arm or his shoulder or his legs or something. Like, yeah, we totally had this discussion last week. Yeah, obviously the brain is important and stuff, but if he clears the protocol, like I'm starting him.
Yeah, the Titans are a pretty good matchup. They're not like the cakewalk they look like they were going to be the first few weeks, but they're still good. So Nico Collins is out. Noah Brown was limited and is questionable. If let's approach all these guys without Stroud, because that seems like which way it's going. Are you starting anyone without Stroud and Davis? Davis Mills is not like a nobody.
Yeah, that's fair enough, because like I honestly didn't mind him too much. Like, not that he was like good or anything like that, but he was kind of like, he definitely showed flashes of like being able to like do it. But I mean, he did play 2 full seasons and like they weren't that good. But I don't know if what that exactly means. But I don't know. I think if it's Mills, then I'm not starting anybody. Like, if it's Stroud, I'll start Noah Brown, I guess. Like,
that's even a risk.
Yeah,
I'll take.
Yeah,
I'll take that risk if Stroud's out there. What about Dalton Schultz without Stroud? Like, I think he's full practice again. Like, I think he's fine. Like, as a tight end start, like he can get 5 for 60 with anyone. You know, like. So I don't mind Schultz. Definitely over guys like Logan Thomas, Tucker Kraft. I'll take Schultz. Like, I've seen it before, you know.
Yeah, they obviously scheme him up in the red zone, or in the end zone. Even like he was doing pretty good there with his touchdowns. Obviously, it could be a different quarterback, but they're it's the same coaches and stuff, so that they can still dial him up for those kinds of plays. So yeah, I don't mind that. I like Schultz.
Yeah. I forgot about the running backs.
It's easy. It's just Singletary as a running back too. You're not starting Pierce.
Yeah, I think Singletary's kind of a fringe running back too, to be honest. Just like
low end.
Yeah, like I'm starting like Connor, obviously the Seahawks guy. Like, what about Clyde versus Singletary? Now that we know Pacheco's out.
Yeah, I think I'll start Singletary.
See, I think I'll lean Clyde just because, especially with the Texans are with Mills, just because I think Clyde will have a better touchdown opportunity. But yeah, they're kind of a coin flip, right? So yeah. Antonio Gibson, I'll take Brian Robinson's out. I'm taking Antonio Gibson.
Yeah, I think they did say Robinson's out, isn't he? Yeah,
they did. And Gibson's role might not even really change that much, and I'll still take. He might get a few more carries, but like I don't think it's going to be drastic. Like, I think just like Chris Rodriguez Jr. will come in, but I mean Gibson has been getting a bunch of catches, so yeah. And Pierce you can cut Pierce at this point, really. Maybe I wouldn't go that far, but it depends on who's on the waiver.
Yeah. True. He's definitely droppable, but you don't just cut him for nothing.
Yeah. So the Titans, and I kind of alluded to it with Will Levis. He's ranked in that Browning, Baker, Flacco, Minshew range, and I don't mind him potentially over all those guys. So he's flashed this year. He had a pretty good game against the Dolphins. I mean, he threw for 327, only 1 touchdown. He can run the ball. We haven't really seen it, but he can. I'm going to predict he gets a rushing goal line touch. Tannehill with Derrick Henry would get so many rushing touchdowns because everyone at the goal line would just sell out against Henry.
Yeah.
But the reason why I like Levis is because he's playing Houston. And if you look at Houston since week 5, and this is 4 point per passing touchdown, they've given up 17 or more points to every quarterback they faced except for Bryce Young. And he had 14.5, one of his better games. So they gave up 26 to Ritter, 17 to Carr, 19 to Baker, 22 almost to Burrow, almost 23 to Kyler, 25.5 to Lawrence, 18.5, almost 19 to Russell Wilson, and 19 last week to Zach Wilson. So they've been really bad against quarterbacks since week 5. And there's some bad quarterbacks in there. Ritter, Baker's fine. Zach Wilson, and even Bryce Young getting like 15 points is like, damn, and 4-point. So I'm actually kind of fine. And it's a revenge game for John J. Hopkins. I know we're going to get to, like, he could just like light them up. I'm kind of fine with like Levis over that group of guys. I'm not going to go crazy and start him over Kyler or something, but over that, again, Browning, Baker, Minshew, Flacco, Carr group.
I think I'll still start Baker and Gardner. Like, why do I call him that? Baker and Minshew. I was just thinking about that because like when you said Murray and then you said Kyler, because like some guys you can say their last name, some guys you say their first name, and we all know who we're talking about. I can't just say Will, but yeah, no, Levis. You definitely made an interesting case for him. Also, I will start him over Browning for sure, and over Flacco. I like that.
Yeah, it's just, and again, the matchup. So I think it would be actually better if Stroud was there because it could be potentially more of a shootout.
Yeah.
This could be a Derrick Henry game. That's always the issue when they get down to the goal line. It's give Henry the ball,
Yeah.
But they could do a sneaky play action, runs it in. But I don't mind Will Levis this week. I really don't. And he's flashed. I dynasty wise, like I'm slightly excited about. I let people influence me. I was kind of like, I kind of like Levis. Like, he can make some throws. And then, like, just he fell out of the first round. A lot of people talking. I was like, I don't like Levis. And then he's flashed more than Bryce Young. That's for sure.
Yeah. I'm totally happy in my my orphaned rebuild in Dynasty. I got Will Levis for Dallas Goedert before the season started. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, for sure. Derrick Henry's a must start. I think he's like still second in the NFL in rushing, which is crazy. Like, everyone's just like, it feels like everyone's down on Henry. It's like, I mean, he's almost at 900 yards and 10 touchdowns. He has probably going to break his record for receiving stuff. 4 more games and he needs 10 more catches and 200 more yards. He could do that maybe, but he's going to get 1,200 yards, like 67 yards a game times 4. So, he's still Derrick Henry. And Hopkins, I think, is a start.
What about Tajay Spears?
If this was a CJ Stroud game, I'd like Spears more.
Okay.
Because he's just better in games where they're trailing and not winning, or, it's non-competitive games. I don't hate it. I mean, 6 for 89 last week is pretty awesome. But again, they had to make it a miraculous comeback, right? Like, how much did he get? I wonder how much he got those last 2 drives in the last 4 minutes. I assume a lot.
I don't know. I think one of those drives was literally 2 plays, and I think it was like literally one to outside of the touchdown. I think it was like one long one to Hopkins and then like a shorter one to Okonkwo, and it was like boom, they were right there on the 10-yard line instantly.
Yeah, that's fair. I wonder how much. Just like, looks like 1, 2, 3. I see 3 right here. 3 catches in one of those drives for Spears. Okay. So, yeah, if it was Stroud, I'd be more into Spears. Why? What are you thinking about?
No, I just think like you can start him as a flex given like his role the last couple of weeks.
Definitely in PPR.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely a lot better. But I'm just thinking like you kind of reminds me of not saying anything about talent or these players are the same, but he's like Breece Hall light. No, I don't know. I mean,
Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah, I mean, he's involved in the passing game and he's getting like a little bit of rushing work. So
Mm-hmm.
he's not on the best offense or anything like that, but I think he's totally flexible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I'd start him over in PPR. All right, no, I don't know. Would you start him over Devin Singletary in PPR?
No, I probably wouldn't go that far. I guess I'm just thinking about like I'd start him over Chris Godwin.
Deontay Foreman, who like if Foreman doesn't get so Spears can give you 10 points without a touchdown. I don't think Foreman can do that. Like he could, but it's gonna be hard.
I think I like Spears there.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, what about over Damari? I don't know. I'm just looking at the guys he's ranked around, like Gabe Davis, Pickens, Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, I'll start him over all those guys.
Okay, fair enough. And then Chig he's a 4 for 60 guy. Like that's kind of what he's been the last few games, I believe. Yeah, he's 4 or 5 catches, 45 to 60 yards. So
yeah,
if you want that, he's there.
Yeah,
who's Patriots? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, you touched on Hopkins, but then I put you back over to Spears. But yeah, you're starting Hopkins. Like, we've been saying that for a while. What's that?
No, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You can finish.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like he's still the only guy there, and we saw him look like vintage Hopkins like on some of his catches last week. Some of those were amazing. So yeah, like the more that him and Levis get to play together, like maybe we're just seeing like the chemistry really starting to like bubble up, So you're definitely starting Hopkins. I'm actually really surprised that he's wide receiver 17 on the year. Like I know he's been playing like decent, or pretty well actually, but I wouldn't have guessed he was that high. I would have guessed like 22 or 5 or something.
Yeah, I probably would have been the same. But yeah, I mean, he's at 900 yards already. Like, he's going to put up his best season since 2020. I think he already has. Yeah, he already has. Yeah, and he feels like, I don't know him personally. I don't, watch a lot of videos of Hopkins, obviously, but he does feel like a guy that like a revenge game actually means something to him. Like I feel like he's like, Texans. He did come out earlier this week and be like, yeah, no one wanted me, like 2 teams wanted me this offseason. That's it. Right. So it feels like he wants to, keep showing that he still has it. So he's been 12 targets last 2 games.
Who was the other team
last week? Oh, I don't know, actually. I feel like I remembered someone, but I don't know. I think he said there was like only 2 teams interested in him. So
he's getting up there, but he's still good.
Imagine him with the Chiefs. What are you doing, Chiefs?
Yeah.
But, speaking of, that's our last game here is the Chiefs and the Patriots. The over-under here is 37. Chiefs are favored by 8. It's where are you at with Mahomes? Like a lot of people are talking about his floor. He's like QB 7 or 8 on the year, so I feel like that's like his floor, and we know his ceiling. We haven't really seen it too much this year, but like Brock Purdy, Mahomes is one I've been hearing. I think Hurts, Allen, Lamar, and Dak at this point. If you happen to have both those, one of those guys and Mahomes, I don't know how you would, but if you did, like obviously those guys. Purdy is the big one. Are you starting Brock Purdy over Mahomes? And this is realistic. You could have both.
Yeah. Yeah, you totally could have both of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think I'm willing to do it because it's Patrick Mahomes, but and like you kind of already said, it's like, well, what if there's just 4 rushing touchdowns in that San Francisco versus Arizona game? I got to start Mahomes. I think we're still holding the draft against him because he was basically quarterback 1, like probably in most leagues, like the first guy drafted. And he's still a starter. Like you said, he's quarterback, 7, 8? Like, he's fine. Like, I mean, he's awesome. Like he's had multiple games this year over 25 points, one almost 50 points. It's like, he's doing it. without any receivers. Him and Rice are starting to look a little better together. So, yeah, you're starting Mahomes over Brock Purdy. I'm sorry, Brock. You are very good, though.
Yeah, I kind of agree. The big thing with people is since week 8, he's QB 19. He's averaged 15.1 points and 4 point, I believe. Tommy DeVito has he's 8 points away from Patrick Mahomes over that same span. Both had a bye.
Yeah, I was going to say that it does include his bye, but
well, DeVito has a bye in that span too.
Right. Yeah, you're saying that.
And DeVito, I don't think really he threw the ball twice in one of those games. I think maybe that was the game before actually. I don't know. I understand the concern, but I'm gonna. I feel like they're gonna right the ship here soon. So, at least I don't know. Like Mahomes could have 40 points is what I guess I'm trying to get at. Like, and I don't think Brock Purdy could do that. Really, like, yeah.
Yeah, I put the money on Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. The running backs, are you interested in either one? Which one are you more interested in, with Clyde or McKinnon? Now, last week, McKinnon had the better game. 17, I believe, they basically had 50-50 snaps, but 17 of his snaps came in the 2-minute drills. They had like a couple 2-minute drills. So, assuming that game doesn't go like this, because it's against the Patriots and not the Bills, do you like Clyde a little bit more? Do you like McKinnon a little bit more? Where do you kind of rank both of them, just like this week?
I don't know. That's really tough. Like, I mean, if you picked up both of them, I wouldn't even know which one to start. Yeah. Like, I kind of like go back to the basics, like what you said earlier. That might have actually been off air, as far as like, go back to the basics. What do you think the game script's going to be against New England? Mm-hmm. And kind of go from there. I'd probably start Clyde.
Yeah, and you're hoping for a touchdown, like you really are. I could see him getting 15 carries. I just don't think he's going to do much with it. So they're both kind of desperation flexes, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't want to start either one of them, but yeah.
And then, Rashee Rice is obviously in the start. He's been kind of a must start here for a while now. So he's in there. Kelsey's in there. Patriots, it's Zeke is awesome. Damn it. It should be Ramondre.
Apparently.
Yeah. And then the only other guys really to talk about is like Hunter Henry. Are we chasing? Was it last week where he had the 2 touchdowns? Yeah, it must have been, right? Because Zappy had 3. Are we chasing that? Like, I'm okay with throwing Henry out there just because he could have 2 more. It's like, well, you look like a competent offense for the first time all year. Let's try and do the same thing again where we, throw to Hunter Henry in the red zone. Now, did they get in the red zone? I don't know. But I don't know. Like, I don't want to start Hunter Henry. I don't want to chase the touchdowns again.
No, I wouldn't. Like, I think there's a million guys you can start over him, Yeah. Or Tucker Kraft over him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's actually true, but why not?
Yeah, I would.
He's more of a. Yeah. Anyways, we don't have to discuss this, but yeah, no. Bailey Zappi, you're starting him over Kyler Murray and
Mahomes.
Yeah, definitely.
Zeke's kind of the only must start. Demario Douglas, if you need a safe floor play, maybe in PPR, but other than that, I don't know. It's really just Zeke at this point. So I think that's it. Anything else?
No, I think that's it. I'm really happy that the guy who got Zeke last week, I actually played against him it was like I needed to win to basically like keep that number 1 seed in the bye and everything, and I was really worried when the week started out like that, but I'm glad he's not in it because he also has Tyreek Hill, and he just has scary players on his team where it's like, I don't want to play against these guys, like, can't believe I'm saying that about Ezekiel Elliott this year.
No, I mean, No one else is there. This is what Ramondre would be if they wanted to give him all the carries and touches, but they didn't want to do that. So he'd be better probably. But yeah, that's it. Good luck as always. We're just going to finish up there. Like and subscribe, and we'll be back with part 3.